Welcome back, everybody, to your show. It is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Steele and Flip. It is Monday, people. Waiver wire special. You know what's good, plus big time bets and a lot of chatter. Let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You heard the music, and you know what time it is. It is time for the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Monday edition, which is always a spicy version of this show because Steele and I get to dive into the waiver wire targets that you need to be adding or at least consider adding because waiver wire can be make or break, Steele. You know I've said this before. I know you appreciate when we come on here and I talk about the same players that I like to be talking about. I might be doing it again today. But if you haven't been paying attention, people, some of these players that Steele and I have been highlighting are banging out right now. So make sure you tap in, subscribe, like, drop comments, and otherwise, we appreciate you. We see you. And thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Steele, you know we're getting to the bets. You know we're going to be talking fantasy. But we need to be talking waiver wire Monday because there are some streaky hot players in some really good situations. And I'm intrigued to hear who you have on your radar.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at four players, four individuals, two forwards, two defense. I'm going to be highlighting both players on both sides of the ice for this upcoming week. The first guy I'm taking a look at, Brayden McNabb of the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights have been absolutely special to start the season. You and I talked about this in the offseason. We weren't quite sure of where they were probably going to finish. Probably the same, probably around the same place of just missing the playoffs, missing a wild card spot, but they've looked absolutely phenomenal to start the season. I believe they're like 8-2-0 right now. Absolutely incredible to see the Vegas Golden Knights to another hot start. But Brayden McNabb, 24% owned on Yahoo Fantasy Leagues, 42% owned on ESPN. So he still should be quite available in at least more than half of fantasy leagues out there. He's got 4 assists to start the season. He's a +7. He's got 9 shots, 21 hits, and 24 blocks. So the majority of the points you're going to be getting from McNabb are those blocks and hits, and he gets quite a few every single game. So they're going to continue to add up. The Vegas Golden Knights are going on a 5-game road trip. They have 3 games for this upcoming week. The Washington Capitals, who have looked absolutely atrocious. The Ottawa Senators, who I believe are on a 3-game or 4-game losing streak now. And the Montreal Canadiens, who are just coming off that 7-4 win over the St. Louis Blues. So some advantageous matchups this upcoming week on the road. And again, the Vegas Golden Knights have been just absolutely phenomenal. And I really like the play of Brayden McNabb. I've picked him up in one of my leagues, and he's done pretty good for me so far.
And Logan Thompson has looked sharp in the cage for the Vegas Golden Knights. I think that was obviously one of those concerns for that team entering the season with Robin Leonard going down again with major injury, but they have not missed a beat, and they have looked good. I do have a Vegas Golden Knight on my list. He will be coming up next, but still, I mentioned to you that I like to talk about the same players that we've been highlighting because also I like just sounding good about the players we've been highlighting. Cole Perfetti, 3 goals, 3 assists, playing on a very, very good second line with Mark Schieffele and Blake Wheeler. That is just a good offensive line. They do a little bit of everything. And now Cole Perfetti is getting his chance. 16 minutes a night. I've talked about the importance of that, like kind of 15-minute threshold. I really like seeing 15 and north. I'm comfortable with taking shots on players playing that much minutes. Cole Perfetti playing on that line steal, why not? He's getting run out there. A lot of good opportunities. 3 goals and 3 assists. He's going to continue to get his. And whether you like the Winnipeg Jets or not, they are scoring a lot of goals right now and looking pretty good. You called it. I owe you a 20 on the side for that LA Kings mess. You called that. So good team, playing good, scoring goals. Top 6 forward, also only owned at 21% in Yahoo. I don't have the ESPN numbers up. Don't hold me to that. But he's out there, worth a look.
He's quite available in ESPN leagues. I think he's below 20% on ESPN leagues. So, yeah, I'm really glad that you're highlighting Perfetti again.
Have to.
The Winnipeg Jets, again, have kind of looked they're kind of back and forth in those
Yes.
games, but when they are scoring, they are lights out. And Pierre-Luc
Yep.
Dubois, Cole Perfetti, even Blake Wheeler, Mark Schieffele,
Mhm.
stepping up in those big moments to get those wins for the team.
Mhm.
Another guy who's getting an opportunity though, and who has continued to get an opportunity is Trevor Moore, who I've talked about quite a
Yep.
bit over the last 6-7 months. I really like his game and the opportunity he's getting with the LA Kings. He's only owned at 10% on Yahoo Fantasy Leagues and 5.4% on ESPN leagues. He's got one goal, way too low for Trevor Moore, especially a guy who's playing on the second line, getting over 15 minutes
on a good Kings team.
Yeah, that too. So 1 goal, 7 points in 10 games for Trevor Moore. He's going to continue to shoot the puck on net. He loves to do that. It doesn't matter if he's scoring consistently, but he's going to continue to put that. He's got 31 shots on net, 6 hits, 3 blocks. They have a 3-game road trip that starts tonight in St. Louis, which St. Louis is on a 4-game losing streak right now. So might be the perfect time to be catching this Blues team. But they're on a 3-game road trip, but they actually have 4 games this upcoming week. So
love that.
The Blues on Monday. They have Chicago. They have the Stars on Tuesday. So a back-to-back. They play Chicago on Thursday, and then they play the Florida Panthers on Saturday. So they've got 4 games this upcoming week. 2 of those games at least against some advantageous teams in the Blues and the Chicago Blackhawks. But again, the Kings are not a team to slouch on right now. And Trevor Moore on that second line with Philip Deneau and Victor Arvidsson, they continue to have that chemistry and they continue to get things done.
And honestly, the top line in LA is one of my favorite lines going. We mentioned them earlier last week. Fiala had another good night. Kempe's on a good start, and Kopitar. That's just a very balanced line that does a little bit of everything. You also know that I love what's going on with the LA Kings in general. Been talking about them. We're going to talk about a lot more players. We're going to talk about some bets after the break. We got to pay these bills, and we got to talk about our friends at betonline.net. BetOnline.net continues to be your number one source for betting football in the start of the new NBA season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every single game. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every single sport out there. It is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, though, go check out Game to Game NHL. Every moment, every performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers all games from across the league with local analysis that only Locked On hosts can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on all podcast platforms, which also includes YouTube. And thank you so much again for tuning in for today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Big Flip Livingstone and your boy Steel Road. And Flip, let's get back into the waiver wire segment. 2 more players each. If you don't mind, I'll kick us off with another defenseman here over in the Eastern Conference.
Please do. Brandon, I have 3 left, so don't sell me short, but I have 3 left.
My bad. But Brandon Montour of the Florida Panthers. I am very, very surprised to see that he is below 50% in both Yahoo and ESPN leagues. Only 23% on ESPN, 37% on Yahoo. Very surprising, especially with the absence of Aaron Ekblad, I believe, who's coming back in still another 3 weeks at this point.
I think so, yeah.
Seems to be very, very, very serious for Aaron Ekblad. So very surprised by that. But nonetheless, Montour, he's got 8 points on the season, 7 points in his last 5 games. He's been on an absolute tear for the Florida Panthers. A big reason why they've won a lot of those games as well, putting up multiple point nights on the blue line. He's got 2 game-winning goals, 20 shots, 9 hits, a couple of blocks out there. And also the Florida Panthers have a 4 games this upcoming week as well. They play the Arizona Coyotes on November 1st. The San Jose Sharks, they're going on their California road trip as well. The San Jose Sharks on Thursday, November 3rd. the LA Kings on November 5th, and the Anaheim Ducks on November 6th. So
Okay.
4 games right there, especially 3 of them against the Ducks, the Sharks, and the Coyotes that are very, very advantageous for your lineup. And if Montour is available in your league, I really urge you to go pick him up ASAP because he is on an absolute tear.
Yeah, and I love that you continue to highlight how many games these players have. That's also key when you're taking a look at the waiver wire, just by volume and getting more minutes and more opportunities to stash some points. There are a couple of players on the Vegas Golden Knights right now, Steele, and that's where I want to head next. Again, William Karlsson is only owned at 30% in Yahoo, and I believe right around the same in ESPN. 4 goals, 3 assists. I understand he doesn't bring too much else to the table. Not a ton of hits. He doesn't actually shoot the puck a ton. I understand that. 18 minutes a night, playing on a very good second line with Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith. The Vegas Golden Knights have it back together. That's clear. We know it's early, but we're seeing enough here. If the goaltending can hold up, the rest of that team is pretty solid. We saw the injuries and COVID just ravage this team last year. Eichel's now looking comfortable. Mark Stone is back healthy. Really good second line. Very underrated blue line, which you already discussed.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that make a team very good top to bottom. And William Karlsson doesn't have to do too much with those 2 really solid wingers. He's going to get points. So 4 goals and 3 assists and only 30% owned. Ride the Vegas wave while you can, people, and jump in on some of these pieces while they're hot. Steele mentioned Brandon Montour on a heater. You got to do it. I'm looking at another Brandon, if you don't mind, Steele, because I have this guy and one more left. Brandon Hagel, all of a sudden, looking good, looking like that goal scorer we saw in Chicago. I believe you called him out in the offseason, and one of our
I did
disappointments or one of those players we think could bounce back. I know you talked about Hagel because we saw what he can do in his career. 25 goals. We've seen it. Now, speaking of heaters, how about me with the numbers. 6 points in his last 4 games, including 3 goals, 3 assists. He's hot, and he's out there. Oh, also, hold the phone. He's getting a look on the top line with Brayden Point and Nikita Kucherov as well.
Yeah.
That's an immediate go out there and add Brendan Hagel this week. Because if he even gets a couple more games while he's playing hot with Brayden Point and Nikita Kucherov, you'll be hitting the DMs and saying, thanks, Flip and Steele, for highlighting this player. Because he is also, let me just check, 8% owned in Yahoo leagues. Dual eligibility as well.
He's gonna be open for pickup in a lot of those leagues, and I really do believe with Brandon Hagel, it was all about finding that confidence and getting comfortable with the new situation and the new team. Obviously getting traded at a deadline and coming to a team that's eventually going to make the Stanley Cup Finals and that have made the Stanley Cup Finals for the 2 previous seasons. That puts a lot of pressure on a young kid like Brandon Hagel, who was having a pretty decent season, but now that he's comfortable, he likes where he's at. I think he's going to continue to put up the points as well, and having, playing with Point and Kucherov on the top line, it's been huge. And he's got his confidence back. I watched that game the other day against, I forget who they played. They won 3-2 or 4-2, I believe, but he looked really, really good.
The confidence is back. So you got to take a shot. Who else are you looking at?
My last player that I was looking at, Max Domi, Chicago Blackhawks.
Okay.
He's been on a little bit of a tear recently as well. Okay. I'm not really sure if I like his game per se. Like, he's one of those. He reminds me a lot of his dad. A lot of people like Ty Domi. There's no reason not to. But look, Max Domi goes out there and he takes some really, really selfish penalties. He puts his teams in some very bad spots throughout the game. But nonetheless, we're talking fantasy. So fantasy, that's all that matters right now. He's got 4 goals or 3 goals, 3 assists. 3 of them being on the power play. So he's been a power play juggernaut for the Chicago Blackhawks. They have 3 games. They have 3 games this upcoming week as well. They play the Islanders on the 1st, the LA Kings on the 3rd, and they play your Winnipeg Jets, Cole Perfetti, on the 5th of November. So again, he's actually up 33% on Yahoo leagues. He's up to 38% rostered on Yahoo. Like I said, 4 goals, 3 assists, 3 of those goals coming on the power play, 11 shots, 5 hits. So he's not putting up a ton of those stats in those categories of shots, blocks, and hits. But again, if you're in a banger league, he's getting a ton of penalty minutes. So that's a plus is there. Plus the goals and the assists are racking up for him as well.
Why not, Steele? One of these things that comes down to fantasy is being able to juggle the waiver wire, being able to add and drop and ride these waves while you can. Max Domi pops a couple of goals and takes a couple of dumb penalties. You could win your week just because of that. So obviously you could also lose the week if you get 0-0-0-0, Sam Mitchell style across the board for Max Domi. But I have one more player that I want to get to, Steele, on a pretty hot team, bouncing back and forth, but scoring a lot of goals. Get to it after the break alongside our big time bets. We're keeping today short and sweet, people. Waiver Wire Monday. I got one more target for you right after the break.
Yeah, just want to thank everyone out there for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on all podcast platforms. We are almost at 600 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So please, thank you so much again. Continue to hit the subscribe button. It's been on absolute fire recently. We want to get to 600, hopefully get to 700 by the new year. It's a big push, but hopefully everyone out there tuning in, if you haven't subscribed or followed, please do so. Flip, take it away with your last waiver wire pick for Monday.
Appreciate that, my friend. I think one of the teams that, we haven't talked too much about this year, but we have dove down the Alex Tuck hole, Dylan Cousins and otherwise. I got to take a look at Victor Olofsson. He's got 6 goals. He's looking pretty good. He's a streaky goal scorer, but I like him in the mix in the top 6 in Buffalo. I don't know overall what's going to happen with Buffalo this season. That Eric Comrie, Craig Anderson combination. Rasmus Dahlin has looked good. Owen Power hasn't even scratched the surface yet and hasn't done much this year. So I think this team is like literally one decent goalie away from actually being right there on the bubble. That might be a bolder take. But Victor Olofsson playing on the second line with Jack Quinn and Casey Middlestat, also getting a lot of time on that second power play unit.
Middlestat's looked pretty decent too this year as well.
Thank you very much. He's only owned at 14%, and Steele, he's sitting there right on the number of my threshold for minutes, 15, 16 minutes a game. That's more than enough for me to take a look at him. Again, he gets the shots, maybe not too much else. He doesn't throw the body, those other metrics he's not going to bring. But I was kind of looking at some of these players, just goal scoring, 6 goals this year, 7 points. Got to take a look. Playing on a team with the Sabres, scoring some goals right now. These are the angles I'm taking a look at. He was the last player I have aside from the bets. But yeah, Tage Thompson, Tuck, Skinner, Jack Quinn. I know some of those guys are streaky goal scorers and the book is out. But hey, I'm fine running the risk. I've seen enough from them this season. They're going to score goals. We know that.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm going to be starting for big time bets. That Red Wings game versus the Buffalo Sabres. And I talked about this in the buy low, sell high episode that I did a couple of days ago. And I talked about Rasmus Dahlin actually being one of those players selling high because I was looking at the trend over the last couple of years of how the Buffalo Sabres have started and where they go in the month of November. And it's a complete flip around, switcheroo for the Buffalo Sabres. Yet again, it is October 31st. So we are still in the month of October. And I've got the Sabres on the money line at minus 140 against the Detroit Red Wings for my first pick of the night. Once it gets into November, it could be a complete 180 for the Sabres team. They've done that over the last 4-5 years, it seems like. So we're still in the month of October, so I'm taking the Sabres on the money line. They've been pretty good so far this year.
Let's continue this discussion of this Detroit Buffalo Sabres game, my friend, because as much as the other night I was feeling an over, I was feeling an under. I literally picked the opposite. The one game I took the over, it was 1 goal. The game that I took the under, there was like 9 goals. So I'm a little bit gun shy on the old over-unders. But this one just screams over to me, and I don't even care, Steele. I'm going to go back to the well with the over. I could easily see this 4-3, 5-4, no problem. Both of these teams score and allow a ton of goals. Both teams also allow a lot of shots. Both teams also, I know Ville Husso and Nedeljkovic are a lot better than the duo in Buffalo. both teams still trying to figure it out in goal as well. So all of those things point to the over. I'm trying to keep it simple. We only got a 3-game board here tonight, people. Not a lot to choose from, but that usually means good things for me because, I got the kind of semi-blinders on. I only have 3 games to look at here. But yeah, hit me with that over 6.5. That could easily be 7 still, but I'll hammer it at 6.5.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing, taking the over in this game as well. I'm keeping it very simple for this Monday 3-game board too. I'm actually taking all the home teams, it looks like, now that I'm taking another gander at the schedule. My second bet of the night, the Blues, like I mentioned before, the LA Kings are on a 4-game. They have 4 games this upcoming week. They start tonight against the St. Louis Blues, which they are, I believe, are on a 4-game losing streak at this point after winning their first 3. I think that changes around for the St. Louis Blues. I'm taking the Blues at home on the money line again, minus 140 against the LA Kings. I just have a ton of faith in this Blues team, to turn things around real quick. They've been in a couple of close games. They've gotten outscored and been dominated in some games as well, especially that Montreal Canadiens where they lost 7-4. But harsh. I'm taking the Blues on the money line, minus 140. I'm going heavy with the favorites on Monday.
I don't hate it. I just, whenever it seems too good to be true, it usually is. And taking too many home teams, I don't know. This has been a tough start for the year for both of us. So I'm a little bit jaded. I'm finishing off both of my picks still with player props. And I'll hit you with my second pick right away. I think we alluded to the fact that I alluded to the fact that I really do like that Kempe, Fiala, Kopitar line. Kempe's looked very good.
Well, Fiala's down to the third line now. It's Velarde on the first line.
Even better. Thank you so much. Velarde on a heater. Thank you for holding me down. Hard to watch all these LA Kings games on the West Coast for us East Coast boys. Treat for you. Adrian Kempe has looked good. 6 goals.
Yeah.
I'm fine to go back to the well here. He had a goal against Toronto on Saturday. Give me the Adrian Kempe anytime goal. You're going to get a good odd on it as well. Adrian Kempe pops one tonight. You can count it.
I like that as well. He has been on an absolute heater. And again, like I mentioned, I'm going pretty simple with Monday's games. I'm going pretty simple, taking the home team and the favorites for all 3 of these games. The Hurricanes on the money line against the Washington Capitals at minus 180. Yep. Look, for me, the Capitals have not been great. My bold prediction of Alex Ovechkin getting over 35 goals, I'm not going to lie, it looks pretty good right now. I know we're early on in the season. This guy can just score at will.
He's been up and down,
they've been up and down. They have not looked great whatsoever. So the Hurricanes are obviously the better team in the Metropolitan Division. They've looked good over the last couple of games as well. Taking the Hurricanes on the money line, minus 180. I'm also going to be putting all 3 of those into a parlay. But again, my lock of the night is the Hurricanes on the money line.
Interesting how we're doing totally different picks, but somehow drawing the parallel. Maybe it's because there's only 3 games, but I'll take it either way because my lock of the night is from this Carolina Hurricanes game. Sebastian Aho is just a phenomenal hockey player. And somehow I know, you and I, dedicated hockey people, they know all about Aho, but for some reason I feel he's still somehow underrated slightly. 4 goals and 6 assists for 10 points in 8 games to start the year. I'm going to take the Aho anytime assist. I'm not copping out on anytime point. I'll get the juice on the anytime assist. And when you look up his splits, you look up his career, 20 games versus the Caps, torches the Caps. 10 goals, 10 assists in 20 games. He plays well against that division rival. I expect him to have another good game. I'm a hammer this Sebastian Aho anytime assist deal because as much as I do think, the Washington Capitals can win some games, I'm with you. And the Carolina Hurricanes are just a good team, in all the angles here. My lock of the night, Sebastian Aho anytime assist. Odds aren't out yet. We'll be tweeting them out later.
I like the pick. I like the lock of the night. I actually had a Sebastian Aho anytime goal, I believe last week, and it hit for me as well.
There you go.
He's been a guy that I look to go back to every single time I see the Hurricanes on the schedule as well. I like the picks you've made. I like the fact that I'm also taking, I'm playing it simple here, playing it safe a little bit, and taking the home teams on the money line, all the 3 favorites for this Monday 3-game board. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your next listen, though, go check out Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, just like this podcast right here. So once you subscribe, once you follow, you'll get all the latest episodes 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. You don't want to miss out on all the juicy topics and conversations Flip and I discuss on the episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. Again, have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. Hopefully, we're helping you and bringing some moolah in for you guys. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.